So for some reason, because this is the first day of a month, I decided that we should call this day Ready, Set, Go. And I love it when I do that to myself. You hear me say this all the time. I choose these for Natural Awakenings about 6 weeks in advance, and then I just do what I said I'd do and find out what it looks like. So this became, the secondary part of this became how to leap into your best life now. Because knowing how to leap or having some leaping lessons is sometimes very handy. Do I get to have the clicker now? Wow, sometimes I actually do this. Thank you. Okay, so ready, set, go. Some of you who are my friend on Facebook, you might have seen this yesterday, but these are all on my refrigerator. And the first one comes from the spiritual center I had in North Carolina. This was an insert in our program. You remember that? So whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it, right? Then what would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail? Of course, the internet not only gives no credit to people who did write something, but credit to people who didn't write it. As I found with some of these others, when I was looking them on, double checking them, go out on a limb, that's where the fruit is. That's Will Rogers. Okay, fall down 7 times, get up 8. One of my favorite Buddhist teachings. Okay, this one, I'm going to cheat because I have them written here. Okay, risk more than others think is safe. Care more than others think is wise. Dream more than others think is practical. And expect more than others think is possible. And this is attributed to, it's called Cadet Maxim. And first I thought, well, who is Cadet Maxim? And then I realized it's a maxim for cadets. So I'll just help you with that one. The No Doubt sticker is from Judy and Roland, who have moved up to the mountains of North Carolina. Bless them. We're all going to go visit. And of course, Thoreau. Go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life you've imagined. And my favorite, which actually is one we've heard so many times, I gave to a friend on a very special turning point kind of occasion in her life. And it simply says, leap, and the net will appear. So why do we need so much encouragement? What's that about? Well, I have a theory, and I'm going to share it with you this morning. I have a feeling that some of us, although we knew how to dream and to risk and to leap when we were children, somehow got the message between now and then that that wasn't such a good strategy. They were wrong. So we learned not to dream, not to leap, not to risk, but play it safe. Others of us, in response to that kind of advice and well-meaning direction, may have also just never even learned to do that. We may never even have the opportunity to get in touch with that part of ourselves before it was kind of not snuffed out, because that's not possible, but squelched. So here we are in this very interesting place where we read books and we go to seminars and we take classes. You know, I just went to that a thing where I flew somewhere, stayed in a hotel, got all excited for 3 days and came home. You know that one. Okay. It was very valuable. I'm glad I did it. We do these things, right? And then what happens? We sometimes just bounce back like a rubber band to that old conditioning, right? So sometimes it's the teacher or the speaker or the coach or the who's it or the what's it. You know, I went to one place where they always used to keep the room really cold. They played rockin' music all the time, and they just kept you going. There was no resisting it. But then you come home and eventually get back to where you were. So we have this capacity to dream, to risk, to leap that's still within us. And many of us have just learned not to do it because somebody who meant well suggested that we not, So what happens, though, to all of the possibilities that we almost followed up on? What happens to all of the opportunities that we almost took part in? What happens to all that stuff? I know at least a few of us in the room are familiar with the answer to that question. Because see, all life is energy, and it must be expressed. It cannot just simply be doused. That's the quality of the abiding, of the absolute, of the light and the life within all of us and everything, is that it cannot be destroyed. A Course in Miracles teaches that over and over again. So what does happen to that stuff? Well, there are two things that happen. One is that we have memories of each of those occasions and the impressions which were made, the meaning that we assign to those experiences, the feelings that we had, the emotions that came up, the things that we said or didn't say and did and didn't do, and our imagined sense, perhaps, of what we missed out on and how much it cost us. And who knows what, a whole list of things. And those become memories and they become beliefs. And each one of them from the very beginning shapes how we look at the world and every similar person and experience. They shape our beliefs. They shape what we expect. They shape what we imagine. And if you can imagine, I'm going to mix some metaphors like crazy this morning. But imagine that, you know, when you use a camera that has an adjustable lens, you can close down the apertures and let in less light to get a different kind of photograph. Imagine that each time you have an experience and an impression of reality that is false, it closes a little and a little more and a little more, till pretty soon you're looking through a pinhole. And then you come to a class or a seminar or something and they say, you live in a world of infinite possibility. And you're like, oh no. There's just a slight difference between my little pinhole perception of reality and what I've heard is possible, and that makes me mad. Well, good news, we have a name for that too. It's called divine discontent. It's that festering. You know, Carolyn Mays, we did a class recently called Practical Mysticism, and one of the two books we used was called Entering the Castle. And she says that the difference between ego and fear-based, personality-based direction and intuition is that intuition won't let up. Intuition, truth, is persistent. Intuition, your soul keeps saying, this way, this way, this way, as many times as it takes. The ego, on the other hand, can be convinced to change its mind and direction and perception easily. So the one that waffles is not the truth. Makes sense, right? The truth doesn't waffle. Nobody's written that yet, but I'm saying it right now. The truth does not waffle. So here we are. We got our refrigerator magnets, and we're told to leave because the net will appear, and we're like, yeah, I heard that before. I bought the book, I have a t-shirt, I jumped up and down, I did the little dance, I stayed in touch with my group for a while, and now I'm back to this pinhole perception of life, and this idea that Deepak Chopra told me, and quantum physics, supports that we live in a field of infinite possibility, and I'm mad because my life is looking pretty finite right now, right? So how do we get the willingness even, never mind the courage, to dream, first of all, to risk, to leap, to trust that we'll grow wings on the way down? I mean, come on, right? So there we are in this place. Now, this is autobiographical, by the way, if you haven't guessed. Everything I say is. So here we are saying, well, there's just a little bit of a contrast and I don't like it, and whatever shall I do? Funny thing, in our classes, we're reading some pretty complicated stuff right now, and we're dissecting and becoming familiar with this relationship between what we think and what we perceive and what we believe and what we feel and emote and say and do and what shows up in our experience. Because the more familiar we are with that, the more empowered we are in it, the less we can go to victimization or blame. Which, it's like, oh darn, can't bring that one along for the ride. But we get to discover how that discrepancy between what we're experiencing and what is possible came to be. And we get to discover how to do something about that. So we open up the lens. We open up the lens until we let lots of light in. And lots of light back out, because we discover that it's been within us all along. And the light within and the light without connect and have a party, and great things happen. Ooh, great things happen, yeah. And along the way, something else that we can do is remember that instead of weeping and moaning about the missed opportunities, and instead of thinking, I'm flawed, I grew up in the wrong family, I've got the wrong ideas, and there's nothing I can do about it, here's something else. Think how persistent that life energy has been by bringing you not only those opportunities, but all of the forms that those repressed dreams took. All of the forms that stuck energy took to get your attention, to get my attention. Because see, when I miss an opportunity and then I get upset, and then I try to tell myself I'm not upset because I'm not comfortable being upset and I don't believe I have any choice in the matter, so let's see if I can find a way to just forget about it and don't disturb me, because if you stir it up then I'll remember it and then I'll have to feel it again, then I'll have to face it again, right? You know that dance? Okay. So instead of that whole dysfunctional dance of regret and trying to avoid this energy that's going to be expressed anyway, we get to this other level where we recognize, the most annoying person is our greatest teacher. The most painful experience is our greatest awakening, right? And so on, and so on. And then what happens is that our perception and our capacity to believe and to trust begins to come back, because we understand that through it all, as crooked and messy as it might have been, purpose was always there. Truth was always there. You close the front door, it knocks on the back door. You lock the back door too, it comes through a window. You lock those too, it comes up through the drain. I don't know, but somehow that truth always reaches us, doesn't it? So what happens for me is that through this practice and this study and the daily application of it, I become first willing, and then more aware, and then more empowered as to how life is always for me rather than against me. And my capacity to trust grows, and then I can dream again. I dare to imagine again. I dare to pursue creative expression again. I dare to risk not being understood. I dare to risk not being liked. I dare to risk messing it all up and having to try again. Because there's a restoration of safety, of trust, through the recognition that purpose and truth and something abiding has always been there, and it always will be. And then leaping doesn't look like such a bad idea, right? We honor all paths here, and we teach the principles of the science of mind and spirit, which, by the way, has also been referred to as a spiritual psychology. I love that one. So through all of these different ways that we teach and practice this, we discover that relationship between the out there and the in here. And we get better at it and better at it. And we aim towards mastery, and we achieve improvement, and life just gets better. I always like to tell people we're dealing with infinity, so don't give yourself a hard time about where you are on this continuum. because there will always be more to know, always more to learn. So, we have all of these things to encourage us because we realize we need them to help us remember the truth and to replace those old false ideas that we just, we had ingrained at an early age, and some of them just are bunk. So here we have, leap and the net will appear, and now we can look at that and not scoff because we understand what the net is. We understand that it appears constantly in the confirmation of the presence of guidance and direction in your soul's purpose, and that thing that won't leave you alone, that turns out to be right, okay? And you get to say, I told you so. I was supposed to be an artist, or whatever. Okay. Oh, that's a song. So how to leap into your best life now would be what then? It would be simply to give yourself permission to dream again. Give yourself permission to risk again. Give yourself permission to go for it. And recognize that there is something that has been with you all along. And no matter what you do, you can never scare it away. You can't get it to leave. You can't snuff it out. You can't bury it. You can't hide it. It always finds a way to be expressed. It is all life, and it's your life and my life now. Ernest Holmes said this thing in many of his opening treatments when he was still doing Sunday services, and a lot of us have adopted it. It goes something like this. So we'll just sort of chant this one together a couple times. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. So I invite you to march around in the store and drive around in your car and tell your friends, whoop, there's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is my life. And that life is perfect. That life is my life now. And what Holmes used to say is that is your life and my life now. Right? Because the punchline or the gift or the prize, the bonus track in all of this is that when we do this for ourselves, what a gift we give our brothers and sisters. What a gift we give everybody that we come into contact with. And initially, when you break the rules and give yourself the permission to dream and to leap and to risk, they might call you funny names. They might think you're nuts. But give it time and they will shift and say, wow, what a courageous being, what an inspiring person. I know, because I started out as being thought of as nuts and now I'm considered to be a little bit inspiring most days. So I invite you to take that home with you and realize that you're all ready, you're all set, and there's nothing left to do but go. And so it is.